My name is Anna Kay, and I live in Ward 7, which is Jane and Finch. I've lived here for the last 12 years. Um, I want to speak on a little bit of my concerns about the 2021 Toronto budgets, and I was hoping that with the pandemic that we're in, that the city of Toronto and our councillors would have truly think about ways that they can invest in communities that are underserved and haven't seen the funding that they've needed from the city. If that is through recreational, housing, healthcare, whatever it is, that we would have seen a little bit more funding allocated to communities that really need it. Um, am I surprised? No. I was really thinking, does my voice really matter when at the end of the day, we know that the counselors are going to vote to do what they want with the dollars? Um, but wanna, I wanted to be here because it's still important to have your voice on record, saying and advocating for what the community truly needs and deserves. We're in a crisis now where many of these communities have been dealing with their own pandemic before this pandemic happened. They were already in a housing crisis. They were already dealing with food insecurity, precarious work, and all of those things, gun violence, mental health issues, everything that you can think of. Um, and there really hasn't been any real commitment from the city or the provincial or federal government in what that funding should look like, and getting those dollars allocated to these communities. But I really want to talk about evictions. We know that with the ban on eviction right now, what are we doing with this to be able to help renters who are living in communities that already lost their job, are underemployed, and will never be able to catch up on their rent? That we know that what are the city offering in this budget to be able to allocate some funding to rent relief, to really get folks to be able to catch up on their rent, be able to stay in these spaces. Because at the end of the day, we cannot give people who poor people money and then tell them to pay it back when we know that they will already be struggling to be able to pay that back. um the next thing is, when we're talking about like housing, we really need to think about equitable housing, and not just affordable housing, because the way that affordable housing needs to be, it needs to be equitable. It needs to be in spaces where everyone can be able to have the opportunity to live there and have access to those housing. Rent control, rent freezing. These are the time for us to be thinking about those things, and these quote unquote band-aid solutions that the city has been providing. But let's do a workshop. Folks doesn't need time for a workshop. Folks wants resources, tangible resources that can help them to be able to get out of the situations that they're in. And one of my real disappointment with the city of Toronto is, especially the last year of 2020, with all of the social justice uprising, everything that's just been happening. And that's to know that our city and our councillors couldn't even cut the police budget by 10%. Our police our police budget is over $1 billion. That is ridiculous. And at the end of the day, police cannot deal with people with mental illness. They cannot deal with people who are a or in domestic situation. They can't deal with people with poverty. And we understand that policing cannot solve every issues that are happening in the community. So why are they getting the largest chunk of the funding? This 10% cut could have went to rent relief. It could have went to mental health. It could have went to so many other services that are needed in community. And shame on every counselor who couldn't vote to just cut the budget by 10%. Isn't the people of Toronto, especially those who are in vulnerable communities, deserving of this money? And those are the questions that I hope that they can answer, which I know they probably won't. But at the end of the day, I know that Toronto cannot go back to the way it used to be after this pandemic, because communities that are already affected will always still be affected. And not only that, there will be even a bigger gap between the haves and the have not. And we're seeing that. I want to thank you for the time.